In this video, guys, I want to discuss about why taking no trade is an active decision and why you need to think of it as an active decision, not a passive one. Stick around. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining me. So taking no trade is an active decision. What the heck do I mean by this? So very often in trading, we're not trying to trick our mind as such. I don't even think we can trick our mind, but we're trying to wrap things up so that our mind is at peace with the decision we've made. So in trading, we say, okay, I'm not taking a trade because of X, Y, Z, or I'm waiting for this because, we have to kind of package things nicely for that little inner voice that wants us to do the wrong thing, wants to overtrade, wants to FOMO, wants to this. And so sometimes we've got to tread carefully with how we're positioning and how we're talking about a trade that we're about to take or not take. And so something I've learned that's been very effective for me is to understand that taking no trade is an active decision, not a passive one. So in other words, many people will look at the market and say, I've got no position, I need a position, I need to do something. Whereas if you frame it and say, I am doing something and I'm choosing to do nothing. Why is that so important, the difference between the two? There's a subtle distinction, right? You've got, hey, you're exactly the same position net operationally, zero position, but the talk is different. The guy on this side is saying, I can't find a long or short, I'm not long or short. And there's an urgency to do something. He or she feels like he's doing nothing. And so the decision is framed differently. It's like, I'm not long, I'm not short. And so there's an urgency to take a trade, which lends to over trading, it lends to FOMO, it lends to all that other stuff, versus the other guy who's saying, okay, I have decided to take no position. There's a certainty to that. He or she has made an active decision to not go long and not go short. Exactly the same outcome, but look at the difference in talk. This guy's on edge. He's like, I've got looking for a trade. I've got to look to, how can we be a trader with nothing on? I'll call yourself a trader. You've got to make money. He's been in the market to make money. All that sort of internal dialogue we make. The other person's saying, no, I'm not trading. I can't see anything. Now, there's one more level to it. So you want to be this person who's actively deciding not to trade. Not I can't find a trade or I'm waiting for a trade. I have made a decision not to trade. Now, sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes the mind still goes, yeah, but you still need a trade, right? Or where's your next trade going to come from? Where's your next P&L going to come from? You need a boost in P&L. We know the self-talk that goes on. So taking it one step further is you actively say, okay, I'm not taking a trade. And one extra step is, this is now what I'm looking for to potentially initiate a trade. So what would that look like? So let's say you've got a market here. Let's say it's chopping around, doing nothing. You love my drawings, guys, I know you do. It's chopping around, doing nothing, and you have no trade. You've decided, hey, there's no opportunity there, there's no edge. I'm not going to risk my hard-earned capital on something that has no edge for me, or no perceived edge, or no decent risk-reward ratio, any of this stuff. So you sit aside, okay? Now, what you do, that sometimes is not enough, and you're constantly looking. You can say, okay, I will look at the market if we hit this level, or at this time. Okay? So now, because sometimes what happens is when you say I've got no trade, you've got this voice saying, well, find a trade. Yeah, that's fine, okay, I get it, well done, no trade, but you need a trade. What's next? And so there can still be that little sense of urgency. It's not as bad as this guy who's like, oh, I need to find a trade now, maybe we hit the top of the range, maybe we hit the bottom. But it's better, but you can really go superpower here and go, right, actually, I've made this active decision to not trade, and I've also made a secondary active decision to only get involved if the market is above this level or below this level, or I'm going to review it after a certain period of time. So now, you've set yourself framework, and the little voice that's going do something is pacified, because it's basically said, listen, I am, but only if the market gets to here. And that might not mean you pull the trigger, of course, but it means I'll review it. I will decide at that point if I want to initiate a position or not. And so that calms everything down. You then know you don't have to have that internal dialogue and chatter and all that noise going on in your mind saying do something. It's like, I don't need to do anything until that happens, or that happens. And you can be at peace with that. And that might take, if you're a day trader, it might take several hours, it might not happen in the day. For a swing trader, it might happen for days. But it's a way of calming that requirement in your mind to trade, that little voice that says, yeah, but you're not doing anything. You need to be doing something. And you say, okay, well, I've actively decided not to, but I've gone one step further and said, and I've actively decided that I'm not going to even get involved in reassessing conditions until one of these two or three parameters are met. And then I will then go through my routine and I will check and I will look and see if there's a trade idea. And I won't say pull the trigger, but I still want to have a look. So this is something that helps you guys, especially if you are over trading, if you are constantly feeling like you need to be in the market and the market kind of goes quiet and get a volatility crush. It's just saying, okay, just calm things down a bit. I'm actively deciding not to risk my capital and I'm actively deciding only to reassess under these conditions. Shush, be quiet, everything else can wait because that's what I've decided, versus, well, look for a trade. Because you know what it's like, if you're in that other mindset, you're like, oh yeah, but it's probably going to touch the top, and you've got this internal dialogue of noise and focus, and it's just sapping your energy, and at worst you get involved in it, get sucked in, you can lose money, get frustrated. It can be a vicious cycle, versus putting it in a compartment. I've made an active decision not to trade. I've gone one step further and made an active decision only to assess on those conditions. All right, guys, thank you very much for your attention. I hope this has been some value, something slightly different. Hopefully it helps you if you are over trading. If you like this kind of stuff, do so. There's a link usually in the description below. Take care, guys. Good trading. Bye-bye.